at Rugby AM over the last 3 years, this man's been more instrumental in our development than anyone else outside the world of Rugby League. And today, on a Monday morning, as the building work progresses at the wonderful Hetherington Stadium, the last thing I thought I'd be doing is talking to you today, Gary, about a successor on the field for the coaching position, as Brian McDermott has left the club. The statement reads he's obviously not a bit surprised by the decision. Firstly, that must have been a really tough conversation for you to have with Brian.
Yeah, and I have to say, Alex, that I didn't envisage being here today either. This was never part of a grand plan. We never envisaged ourselves being in this situation, but this is where we find ourselves. And yes, having said that, it's not a knee-jerk reaction either. I think everybody was particularly disappointed with the team's performance at Wigan last week. But you get disappointing performances. That's part and parcel of being involved in sport. But no, I think the decision is more to do with knowing that we are at a critical stage of the season and the need to effect change of direction. And I believe that we need to do that in a positive way. And this is somewhat of a calculated gamble because, as we all know, decisions like this don't come lightly and could well backfire. But it is with a view to effecting change and hopefully a positive change.
One thing I'd like to touch on before we talk about the future is Brad McDermott, because as a bloke, he's not the easiest person to communicate with outside the group from somebody like myself. And recently we all worked together on As Good As It Gets, and I think that film showed us a side to Brian as a man and a coach that probably a lot of people don't see. And he has been a huge success for the club and instrumental, the most successful club in the coaching era. So firstly, a few words about Brian and his reign here.
Well, Brian has been, as you say, the club's most successful coach, but moreover, it's the characteristics that he's also instilled into our organisation, particularly within the rugby department, and those characteristics will in actual fact be his legacy, and those are what his successor will inherit. So yeah, Brian's been more than a coach for Leeds Rhinos. He's been a mentor to the players and to other members of staff. He's put his life and soul into the club, into the team, into the players, and he's delivered outstanding results. And he will be remembered and should be remembered as an iconic figure within the club and somebody who's delivered success to the fans, the sponsors, the directors, and everybody associated with the club.
One of the biggest lessons I've learned from myself is succession planning. So we spoke a lot in Australia about where our business Rugby AM is going and how we need to look to the future. Have you looked to the future at all as far as the coaching positions? I know it's only been this morning, but there's various names being thrown up. Tony Smith potentially till the end of the year, David Ferner, ex-player at the club who's assistant to Anthony Seibold, even Chev Walker and Jamie Jones-Buchanan who are in the midst of the first team, especially Chev coming back and assistant coaching. Is anything crossed your mind yet? Have you had any conversations to bring anybody in yet?
Yeah, and you're right, Alex. Succession planning certainly for players, but also for staff as well, is a really important part of our organisation, every organisation. And in an ideal world, you look to get it all in place and all the jigsaw falls into place. And of course, that is not the case at this moment in time. We didn't envisage being in this situation. We didn't envisage making a decision as we did at the end of June, part way through a season. So no, that was never part. That's one of those areas that fall outside of an organised succession plan. So no, quite honestly, we find ourselves in uncharted waters here at this stage of the season, but clearly having to sort of grasp that challenge and meet it head on, first and foremost with a focus on this season, because we're in an absolutely critical period of the season now, with 4 Super League games cropping up, where we probably need to win 3 of them if we're going to avoid falling out of Super League and having to challenge for our place, to regain our place. There's still the Challenge Cup and possibly appearance back at Wembley, and of course there's then the end of season, either playoffs or middle eights, whichever the case may be. So we find ourselves in an absolutely critical phase of the season with all to play for, and that has to be our focus at this moment in time, but of course having an eye on the long-term future as well, next season and beyond.
Will it be a case of getting somebody in the interim, do you think, just to get through to the end of the season?
Those are all decisions that need to be thought through and worked through and ultimately decided upon.
And lastly, Castleford away this week, obviously we're looking for the boys to pull together and get a result that the club desperately needs.
Absolutely, and this in many ways is not all about Brian McDermott. Brian is leaving the club, but in any organisation, in sporting context like we are, the responsibility lies with the coaching staff clearly. It also lies with the senior management, and it relies with the players. And it's very evident that we find ourselves in a position this season where the players themselves will be extremely disappointed with what they've delivered at this point in the season. Of course, the team has been ravaged with injuries, which is one of the reasons for our lack of performance, but moreover it has been a lack of performance throughout our organisation.
Mate, best luck for the rest of the season. Thanks for being honest and open as always. Good luck, mate.
Thank you.
Hopefully see you at Wembley.
Thank you.